Every year, hundreds of innocent people are locked away for crimes they never committed. They wake up in cold prison cells, wondering how the system built to protect them turned into the very thing that destroyed their lives. Their names are cleared years later, if they're lucky, but by then, families are broken, reputations are gone, lives are scarred forever. I created this channel, the Untold Injustice, to uncover these stories, to question the system, expose the truth, and remind the world that justice should never be blind to the innocent. Today, we're breaking down the top 5 reasons why innocent people are wrongfully convicted and what it really says about our justice system. The last one will leave you really surprised. Reason number 1, eyewitness misidentification. It sounds simple. A witness sees a crime, describes a suspect, and justice is served. But what if I told you that human memory is one of the most unreliable pieces of evidence in the courtroom? Research from the Innocence Project reveals that nearly 70% of wrongful convictions later overturned by DNA evidence involved eyewitness mistakes. Here's how it happens. Moments of trauma, like seeing a gun pointed at someone, trigger adrenaline, not clarity. The mind tries to protect itself, filling in blanks it can't remember. Now imagine being shown a police lineup days later. The detective says, "Take your time," but the truth is, your brain wants to help. It wants to choose someone. And so, you point at the person who looks closest to the image burned into your mind. That simple gesture can destroy a life. Take the case of Ronald Cotton. In 1984, he was accused of assault based solely on a victim's identification. She was sure it was him, until DNA testing years later proved she was wrong. Cotton spent over 10 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. She wasn't lying. She was just wrong. And that's the terrifying part. Eyewitness confidence is often mistaken for accuracy. But memory is fragile. It can be influenced by suggestion, emotion, or even police phrasing. Until justice acknowledges that truth, innocent people will keep paying the price for someone else's face. Reason number 2, faulty or misused forensic evidence. We believe science can't lie. But in courtrooms, science can be manipulated. Forensic evidence, once considered irrefutable, bite marks, hair analysis, even fingerprints, has now been proven deeply flawed when not properly tested. Between 1989 and today, over 400 cases have been overturned after experts admitted their conclusions were wrong. Take Keith Harward, a U.S. Navy sailor convicted of murder and rape in 1982. The main evidence? Bite mark analysis. Experts said his teeth matched the marks on the victim. He spent 33 years in prison, until DNA evidence proved he wasn't the attacker. It wasn't technology that failed. It was the people using it. When lab analysts face pressure to help the prosecution, objectivity disappears. Some forensic techniques, like blood spatter interpretation or shoe prints, rely heavily on human judgment. And when careers depend on conviction rates, bias creeps in silently. Real science demands skepticism. But in the courtroom, scientific certainty sells the story of guilt. And when juries hear those words, the evidence matches. It's almost impossible for them to doubt. Reason number 3, police and prosecutorial misconduct. This one hurts the most because it's about power. When the people meant to protect us start prioritizing statistics over truth, the system rots from within. Misconduct doesn't always mean corruption or bribes. Sometimes it's subtle, like hiding exculpatory evidence, coercing a confession, or losing a crucial report that can help the defense. Consider the story of Anthony Graves, a man from Texas who spent 18 years in prison, including 12 on death row. He was convicted based on false testimony the prosecutor knew was a lie. Years later, the same prosecutor admitted misconduct. Anthony was freed, but he had already lost nearly 2 decades of his life. The truth? Many officers and prosecutors face immense pressure to close cases. Politicians want numbers. The public wants justice. And the media wants closure. So when evidence is shaky, some take shortcuts. They convince themselves they're doing the right thing, that the person probably did it. But justice built on assumptions isn't justice at all. Reason number 4, false confessions. It's one of the hardest things for people to believe. That someone would confess to a crime they didn't commit. But it happens. A lot. Innocence Project data shows that around 25% of wrongful convictions include a false confession. So how does it happen? Picture this. You've been questioned for 14 hours straight. You're scared. You're confused. They tell you that if you just admit what they want to hear, you can go home. For a 17-year-old kid, that promise sounds like salvation. Take the case of the Central Park Five, now known as the Exonerated Five. 5 teenagers were pressured into confessing to a brutal crime in 1989. There was no physical evidence, just fear. Years later, the real perpetrator confessed, and DNA proved their innocence. Those boys spent years behind bars for words they never truly meant. False confessions are born out of exhaustion, fear, and psychological manipulation. Interrogation tactics can break anyone, even adults trained to resist pressure. Because when the human mind is pushed to its limit, it seeks the fastest escape, even if that escape leads straight to prison. Reason number 5, ineffective legal defense. Justice isn't just about the law. It's about who can afford to fight. Public defenders are heroes in many ways, but they're often drowning under hundreds of cases at once. They don't have the time, resources, or manpower to properly defend every client. That means innocent people walk into courtrooms unprepared, facing seasoned prosecutors with unlimited state funding. Imagine fighting a war without armor. Kalief Browder, the 16-year-old from New York, was arrested for allegedly stealing a backpack. He refused to plead guilty. His lawyer couldn't get the case dismissed, and Kalief spent 3 years in jail without a trial. 2 of those years were in solitary confinement. When he was finally released, the psychological damage was irreversible. He later took his own life. His story is a reminder that ineffective defense isn't just about money. It's about humanity. Justice delayed isn't justice denied. It's justice destroyed. Conclusion: 5 reasons. 5 cracks in the foundation of justice. And behind each one, countless lives caught in the crossfire. Misidentifications, bad science, misconduct, false confessions, weak defense, different causes, same result. Innocent people punished for crimes they never committed. It's easy to say the system works. But for those trapped inside it, justice feels like a lottery, and innocence just another gamble. Each story we uncover on this channel is a piece of a larger puzzle, one that reveals how fragile truth can be when power goes unchecked. If you've made it this far, you already understand something most people don't. That injustice doesn't just happen to strangers. It could happen to anyone. I'm the Untold Injustice, and I'll keep telling these stories until the truth can no longer be ignored. Because silence protects no one. Subscribe for more real stories they try to hide. Turn on notifications, because truth has no schedule.